some serious points, also my political side of view, I would like to say a few words personally, because there was a time when I was state secretary, I regularly was at the synagogue. And then, I'm not a Jew, I'm not Jewish, so I'm Roman Catholic. And then I met the Cardinal, you know, the first person in Vienna of the Roman Catholic Church. And I told him, dear Cardinal, I have to be very honest. I'm more often in a synagogue than in a Roman Catholic Church. And he looked at me and said, well, dear State Secretary, we can change that easily. So, but it's not.
I don't want it to be changed.
It's not for that I'm not here so regularly in the last month, but it is simply because before I became Minister for Europe Constitutional Affairs, and Sebastian Kurz also told me I should stay in charge for the fight against anti-Semitism. I was a member of the European Parliament for exactly 6 months until he called me back as a minister. And during that time, I was also the chair of the working group on anti-Semitism, and I tried also to engage in this field, which I started already years ago at the European level. I was in close contact also with the ambassador in Brussels to the European Union and to the NATO, and I think we could show that Austria is really a friend of Israel, that Austria really supports also a political change from the European Union to Israel, because it's the only democratic state in a very unstable region, and Israel really deserves our support. And as Ossi already mentioned, I was already in Israel 3 times in the meantime, officially, once as a state secretary, once as a member of the European Parliament, and recently also as Minister for Europe during the celebration and the commemorative festival regarding in Yad Vashem and regarding the deliberation of Auschwitz. So for me, it's really an honor to be here. It's an honor to have you all here, because I think Austria is a good place to have another really deep discussion of Israel, of the fight against anti-Semitism, about also anti-Zionism. And that's also what all the parties of the Austrian parliament did yesterday. There was a unanimous declaration that the BDS movement is anti-Semitic and anti-Zionistic. And that's what we want to say very clearly and loudly. And there were discussions already 1 year ago that it's not a problem, that it's maybe also for the United Nations not to discuss this. And that's what we want to change. We really want to change the politics regarding the state of Israel, and we want to condemn such movements, and we want to also to show the people and tell them, don't be a part of it, because it's anti-Semitic. And very often, people don't know where is the border. Where do you step over the border becoming anti-Semitic? And that's what we really have to look after, because anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And that's what we also did during the Austrian presidency of the Council of the European Union. We had this declaration of the Council with a definition of anti-Semitism and with a clear focus on a security assessment in Europe, not only in Austria. I can really say we do have a good cooperation between the police, between the Ministry of the Interior and the Jewish community, the synagogue, and so on and so forth. But we only have to look to Germany. Look what happened in Halle. And there are further incidents. If we look to the extremistic incidents during the last weeks, it's growing, and we have to do everything to fight these tendencies. And I always say, if the European Jews are under pressure, Europe is under pressure, because it's going against us all of us, and we all have to do our utmost. And when I'm going back to history, because you mentioned my full life, I go back when I was a criminal judge and seconded to the Ministry of Justice. And it started then, and I'm looking at you, Gard. We started a really good cooperation between the Ministry of Justice, also regarding judgments, because what is crucial is to have really clear signs. It's not a question of symbolism, it's a question of clear and strict judgments. It's a question of security for the Jewish community. It's a question of education, and I think education is the key. And it's also a question of statistics. Where are these anti-Semitic incidents? Do all the people report it to the police? No, they are not doing that because they feel ashamed. They think it's not that harsh. They don't want to talk about it. But what we need as a government is we need to know how many people are confronted with this, because words are turning into action. And that's what we are looking for. We are also at the moment trying to have a sort of strategy for the whole European Union. All the member states are preparing a strategy for the national member state, but also under the European Commission. And that's very important. And when I'm looking at Barbara Glück, I also want to mention her because we had a really good cooperation when I was State Secretary in the Ministry of the Interior. She is responsible director, also introduced her already, for the Mauthausen Memorial. And when I say education is the key, then I mean we need young pupils. And that's one thing. We have this former concentration camp in the middle of Austria. We want to bring pupils there. We want to make them visible what happened, because our survivors are in the meantime very old. These days the survivor Alfred Schreier passed away. I am personally very sad because I know him very well, and I wanted to invite him to the Salzburg festivals 2 years ago, and then getting goosebumps all over because he fell ill and he couldn't come. And then he was visiting me in the Ministry of the Interior with his wife after he was released from hospital, and he said, "Dear State Secretary, you kept me alive so many months because I want to go to the Salzburg festivals with you and I want to get strong again." So we couldn't do it, but I sent him a CD in the hospital, and he also sent me a letter saying that he was so pleased that he was heard. And that's the only thing we can do. We are responsible. We are taking our responsibility. We are working together very closely. And it's not about words, it's about action. And every time I go to Israel, I feel deeply touched in my heart. And I want to go there as soon as possible again. Because what we have to do is to have a better exchange, especially between young people from Israel and from Austria, and maybe also from America, because many of them are maybe searching for their roots, if their grandparents or great-grandparents are already passed away. And that's what I want to do also. I feel very lucky and happy that Sebastian Kurz sees that all, and that he, at the first time of my office, told me, please fulfill and go further with these actions, do everything you can do, and you have my full support, and that's what I'm counting at. And I count also at the good cooperation between you all, and maybe also now with Limut. I hope we can have a good cooperation in the future. And I am here, I feel responsible. It touches me every time I'm talking about these topics. And I am doing my utmost, that's my promise to you. Thank you for being here, and I'm happy that we have the next chance to see each other tomorrow in the evening. Thank you so much.